episode of our discussion with Miss Dilmi Mahadurage on enlightenment, awakening, and we have a series of discussions like this every week. And today's topic is very special because a lot of people are looking forward to a discussion like this. The barriers to awaken. Now, the reason is that we know that there are large number of people across the world who are seekers of enlightenment or awakening, and they have been indulged in various practices, be it meditation or taking part in discussions or traveling from one place to another and going from guru to guru, looking for freedom, inner peace. And the point is that there is this common versions we are hearing that despite their long period of search, nothing has been discovered, and this is a kind of a predicament that most of the spiritual seekers are having. So hopefully this discussion will shed light to some areas for those who are still seeking, especially because we are talking to a person who has had an experience in the early stage. I mean, she's still young, and she's none other than Dilmi Mahadurage, who is a graduate of Sri Jagannath University and SEMA qualified and linguistics programs qualified. But she is now into this spiritual work. It's too, little too deep to call it spiritual, but speaking about life and existence. And she has been doing this in so many ways, like counseling and having individual discussions. So today we have invited again to discuss this topic. Now, barriers to enlightenment or barriers to awakening. I think the topic is barriers to awakening. Now, before we discuss this topic, let me give you very quickly, like some areas, the nature of a person who has got awakened, or who has awakened, or the person who is having various beliefs, and what is awakening, what is enlightenment. We will discuss all these areas in this short time span. Now, may I ask Dilmi, thank you very much for coming over, and we'll see the area of this subject, awakening. Awakening from what? What is awakening, and what is the meaning of this, and why should people look for this awakening?
Yes, Dr. Vipula, let's first understand what is awakening, what I mean by awakening, and what is awakening from. Well, I could say awakening from the illusion, like awakening from the illusion of self called me. And this is about awakening, is about you identify, you recognize your true nature at the deepest core. And that's what I mean by awakening. It's about recognizing who you are in your highest potential, in your deepest core. I could put that in, if I put it in words, that's how I could describe it the closest.
Seeing your true nature. Right. Now, I mean, what you're suggesting is, what about this? Isn't this true nature? I'm sitting here and you're sitting there, and I'm sitting in front of a laptop, and we can see each other, and when I look around I can see the garden, and I can see the flowers and the trees, and there's a fan behind me, and it's little cold here. So and isn't this true nature, or is there anything else that you're talking about as true nature?
Yeah, Dr. Vipula, it's like even going beyond this, what you see, what you hear, what you touch, what you feel, what you smell, what you taste, even going beyond these five senses is what I'm talking about, you know. So it's even going beyond that. So that's why it's so tricky and it's so confusing, and even why most of the people misunderstand what I say or any other spiritual teacher would say. Because it's about going beyond all that is. Here the trick is even going beyond now. Like most of the people in the spiritual realm, what they have heard is like being in the now. So what I'm talking here is even going beyond now.
Okay, that's interesting. Now, so in other words, your suggestion implies what you see, what you hear, what you think, and what you feel. This is something beyond that, because because what you feel, what you hear, what you think, and what you taste, all that is revolving around a self called me, right? So that's
Yes.
what we think is real, but that's what we think is our real experience. But what you are saying is, no, there's something else, and that's what you think this experience is not exactly true. Okay, so all right, so let's go a little deep into this, and we'll probe into this. Now, that's awakening from that perspective. I am here, everything is out there, and then I'm experiencing, and I am traveling along a timeline. And so in that, something called awakening happens, meaning that awakening is something, I remember you were saying previously also, that's something within the reach of everyone. It is basically a right of a human being, because every human being, it's already there, it needs to be discovered, right? Having said that, why do people, now before we come to the subject proper, the barriers to awakening, why do people seek something called awakening or enlightenment? Why? I mean, can't you do away with that? Let the life move on. I'll do whatever I could to make my life happy. But why do people look for it?
Well, I don't think people are looking for awakening or enlightenment, Dr. Vipula. What people are looking for is like actually happiness,
Okay.
and at the end, where they end up in the awakening, honestly, like no one is going for like, okay, I mean, I want awakening, nothing like that. What they are seeking is they want to, first they start the journey, it's like they have some problem. They are going through some suffering. And how can I go beyond this? Isn't there anything else than this? They have such a deep dissatisfaction. Even though they have everything in their life, maybe money, they have family, children, they have the education, they have all the qualifications, but isn't there anything beyond this? There's deep dissatisfaction. Still there's something deep, void within them, some emptiness inside them, that they are trying to fill it with different things in their life. And I think that's what people are looking for, not really an awakening. Even I started my journey, like, what is the meaning of life? Isn't there anything beyond this? Because I was trying to fill this void through relationships, through food. I had binge eating for nearly, I think, 8 or whatever the years, like I was struggling with binge eating. Like I was eating food for my, like in order to like cope up with my emotions. So, and that's how I try to feel my voice. So that is what I see is people are seeking, not a particular awakening or anything like that. Yeah.
Right. You mentioned something important which underpins the search. What
Yeah.
do you search? That's it's a heavy word, like suffering. Suffering is a fairly heavy word, but I think discontent, some spiritual seekers, spiritual speakers use this word discontent, unsatisfactoriness. You're not happy here right now. This is not what you're looking for. There is something else. Now, whether you are seeking wealth, whether you are seeking inner peace, or whether you are seeking promotion in your workplace, or whether you are seeking happiness of your children, whether you are seeking, whatever you call it, there is something called seeking and the discontent in the present moment. So I am unhappy and I am seeking. Whatever you are seeking is something else. But as you probably, I think, mentioned that. So that's the cause. That's the root cause of this seeking, or you're looking for something else. All right. So we are very clear on that. I mean, this is not for us to say, hey, this is the whole truth and nothing but the truth. But you try to analyze this. So you initially kind of define what awakening is, and then why people look for this. Now, here we comes to the most important subject, as I mentioned at the beginning, the barriers, the impediments, the hurdles, so-called, so to say, and we cannot reach there. Okay, now these barriers can be looked at from many different ways, different perspectives. I would ask you, like the people who have been seeking for decades, some are meditating, some are going for spiritual discussion, some are ardent followers of some spiritual leaders, and some have a little bit of arrogance also in their spiritual speaking, and some have different behaviors, or maybe acquired, I don't know. Tell me, touch on some of these barriers, why you think they are from the viewpoint of their own characteristics, they have their notion that the spiritual seekers achieve these. Can you mention some of those? Maybe we can actually tell people, look at yourself based on our discussion.
Yeah, like I could say mainly, Dr. Vipula, people are honestly seeking outside. The very thing that they would not look at is seeking within themselves. Not seeking actually, like looking at themselves. That's the last thing that they would do. It's all about like outward focus. I could say that's the biggest barrier. And apart from that, I could go into 3 points, which is like, one is they have a framework, how a realized person. I don't like to use any of the terms like enlightenment or moksha or whatever the words. I would like to say that truth realization, because we can talk about it in the most simplest language possible. If you take my book, even a grade 5, like a grade 3-year-old, like grade 3 student can read my book because it's in the simplest form possible. It's a 50-page book because this truth can be shared in the simplest form possible. So I don't like to go into any big words because these words are already corrupted,
Right.
So I could say like there are 3 main barriers. One is that you have a framework how a realized person would look like already. Like this is how a realized person would be like. So you don't go beyond that. That's a framework. You don't like to go beyond that. And second one is you already think that this is how enlightened, this is how the truth realization would look like. This is the experience. This is how it would look like, what it's like to realize. So you have a framework even on that. And the next one is, the biggest barrier is limiting beliefs in order to realize this truth. There are many beliefs, like it's impossible, it's like take millions of births to realize. Like we can go on in detail on these three topics. Mainly, we can go dive deeper into these three topics in our discussion.
Okay, so let's touch on those areas now. The perception of spiritual seekers as to how an enlightened person or awakened person appears in society, like probably I mean this is quite common, no? It's they walk slowly, they talk slowly, very softly, and they are dressed up in a kind of a very very simple kind of a dress, and sometimes in white, and most of them are vegetarians, and they have got rid of all the feelings. There are no more sad feelings, and it's however, these are kind of perceptions probably emanating from various leaders, philosophical leaders, I think the way they behave or something. However, if you look at the spiritual world, the leading speakers, if you look at the first 10 to 15, the most popular ones, I don't see some of these characteristics in them. Can you elaborate on that, Dilmi?
Yeah, honestly, Dr. Vipula, actually, we need to come into terms that this is a modern world with a lot of advanced technology, so I could say these realized people who have realized this truth are already out there. The question is, can you recognize them? Because if you can recognize them, it would be so beneficial for you. It's unbelievably beneficial, because that's what you call being with the truth it will evolve you so much. I could say being with the realized person and doing a meditation, it would be more powerful for you to be with the person who has already realized, because you would start growing and evolving so fast. And so what I wanted to share with you is there are so I just what I wanted to share is with you
there are actually, I mean, people like Adyashanti or
exactly. So for example,
go
yes,
ahead.
Dr. Vipula. So for example, if I could take someone like Adyashanti, no one would believe that someone who is realized would have a relationship. Especially in a society, in Sri Lankan society, they wouldn't recognize that person as a person who is even into spirituality, who has a relationship, who is married to a woman. And when I was he was talking about his relationship, and there he mentioned that his wife wanted a child, and they were even trying for 5 to 10 years in order to have a child. So this shows that human element. This is not Adyashant is not some superhuman person, just a normal human being living a normal day-to-day life. At the same time, he has touched upon this truth, because this is not some it's not some few chosen ones. It's like your true nature. So you can see that we need to recognize that human element to it. There's a huge human element to it. And then one thing is that, and then the second one is people believe that these people are supposed to not have any luxury in their lives. For example, Osho, he had 100 Rolls Royce. Why would he have like 100 Rolls Royce? Doesn't make sense. So all these things like shows that it's a very completely out of our framework. Like there's nothing like that. Like even another person asked me why I'm living a normal life like this, why I'm not in mountains. Why do I need to go into mountains? I need to be like, then what kind of a peace I have got if I need to go and run into mountains in order to for me to live? Like it's about building the society and like, I mean, if you need to run into a mountain when something happens, what kind of a peace that you got? I mean, doesn't make any sense. So, and another one is like, these people supposed to be vegetarians. This is nothing to do with the physical, how you, like it's nothing to do with the physical. This is something completely with your mind. I'm not saying that the diet could make differences. Sometimes there are people who eat meat and they feel heavy. For me, that was the case, and that's why I let go of especially red meat. And so there's nothing like that. It's just individually. There's like physicality is not really like a big factor in this case. Or what you eat is nothing to do with realizing the truth. And it's very important. At the same time, like people have pictures as how that person would be. Like, for example, I had an image in my past as a truth seeker, like that person must be talking slow, just like you said. And that person must be talking so softly, going like very walk slowly. But I remember I invited one of the spiritual teachers to my home and he came like a rocket. He just walked so fast. And then at the same time, just for like the luxuries, he was using a Audi, very luxury car. And what about that, And so it's nothing to do with these things. It's all about physicality. But like, you can't even recognize a person from their appearance. They could be wearing anything. It's nothing to do with what they're wearing or the robe or whatever. Like if you take out Dishant, he's wearing a t-shirt, just a normal t-shirt. And if you take Jeff Foster, just a t-shirt, It's a modern world. Please, like, open your eyes and start, come on, like, wake up.
Because like
wake up,
that they have to wear that you have to wear a robe and a high chair and the long beard and that kind of a thing. And actually, there's a joke which I experienced. In fact, some years ago, about 15 years ago. So I on Poe days we used to invite these spiritual speakers. From time to time we get them. We have an audience of about 25 minutes. There are elderly people, listening to them. So one day he walked in late because his speech was from 2 to 3 o'clock, and he was to come and have lunch first and then go for the talk. But then he came late, so he skipped the lunch. So he straight away went and spoke to the audience. And by 3:30, we stopped the thing and we were serving food, and he was very, very hungry, and I can imagine. So this short eats plate that we gave him, and he was so hungry he whacked the whole thing at once. And there were a few people who were looking at him, and I overheard this. He said, "No, he can't. He may have not attained any stage of this. He wouldn't eat like that, So these are all, it can start from there to any levels, for whom you think how an enlightened person should behave. I mean,
this reminds me of a story. Dr. Vipul, shall I go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so there was this one spiritual teacher, and then he was in his deathbed. Okay, he was about to die. And then, like, all the students were just around him on the deathbed, and they were like crying and all that. But one student just looked at him, and he realized that he's about to die, and he just ran away for some matter. And then, like, somehow, like, the teacher was also very curious and waiting for the other student who ran away to come back. And then somehow, after a few minutes, this student came back with a packet of cake, like a box of cake. And then he gave that to the student gave that to the teacher, and then teacher took a piece of the cake and he ate the cake and said, "Oh my God, this is so yummy," and then he died. And then, like at the same time, everyone is asking, the students are asking, like, "Oh, can you tell me a teaching and all that?" And that's all he said, and he died. And then when once the teacher said, and then like all the students were like saying, "That, my God, what a greedy man is this? Like what a greedy man is this? Just this damn cake and just died just like that. Didn't even give a teaching." And then the other student who was like brought the cake said, "No, he gave the teaching. It's about living in the moment. He just enjoyed that cake to the fullest in that moment, and he died." And that was very subtle, the teaching, deep. And but the other students couldn't recognize it. But do you see how people could really
Interpret, yeah.
misunderstand these people? Misunderstand, because it looks like that this man is so greedy, man. Like, what kind of teaching is like so yummy, the cake and die just like that? That's it, But there's a very deep truth to it. What he was trying to convey was very true. And then even if you take Osho, when he had 100 Rolls Royce, everyone was like, "What kind of a greedy man is this? This is definitely not a awakened one," like so much controversial, like around him, So, but that's not the truth. Like, really, what people are seeing is their own projections, not really the teacher himself. So, yeah.
Yeah, and this is little critical because especially in our part of the world, especially Sri Lanka, of course, you and I do not want to get involved with these strong beliefs of various, but this notion that enlightened person is someone who has given up everything. He has no more desires. He is not clinging on to anything. So he has given away his house, he has given away his car, he has this thing. And now this giving up, doing away with, I certainly think it's because it's not in the rhythm of the movement of the universe. You just give up, give up. It's not you, because that is another way of holding on to something. Because when you say I give up, there's something to be given up, you see, and then I give up to achieve something. So all those
it's like a
things,
negative identification. Back again, you're identified with that giving up. Now you are this
absolutely.
person who has given up everything.
Yeah, exactly. So earlier I had everything, but now I have given up everything. Right. So so we are more or less done with these notions of our perceptions on people who have attained enlightenment. They should behave in a particular way, and they should appear like that. And of course, there have been stories that the people who have awakened, they used to perform miracles in the past. But of course, we don't see them now. But that's beyond the point that we are discussing. So, awakened person can be anyone. It can be like the other day I mentioned this to another audience. Like when you have a spiritual discussion inside a house, if someone with a shabbily dressed person who comes and knocks at your door and say, I heard some spiritual discussion and can I join and give you my contribution? And if that person happens to be Lord Buddha, for example, will the people accept that person because he's not coming like the way Buddha statues are depicted? that itself is a problem. I mean, they might miss a golden opportunity in life. You know, someone who will say a few words and go, and that might completely change all the beliefs or all the perceptions they have had. So that's a pity. Yeah, this has a huge impact on people who are in the kind of a treading on the wrong track. What do you say?
Yeah, that's true. That I talked to people. It's like I even remember a story somewhere. Like I think honestly, like if Jesus, like, I mean, I don't like to go into any of the religions,
Yeah.
but I would like, yeah, I would like to say that if Jesus comes, like if Jesus comes to nowadays, like, and go to the priest and says, like, I'm the Christ, I'm the Jesus, he's again going to get crucified.
He wouldn't stand a chance. Yeah,
Like,
he wouldn't stand a chance.
that's why I was smiling when you were saying that. But that has become the reality, you know, like people cannot see through things, you know, that's,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, they
Exactly.
are still living in that delusion. They need to go beyond their mind. What the mind says is exactly the conditioning it says, you know, and that's the trap. You are listening to your own mind, which is the conditioning, which is the trap. And imagine that trap is very, very intimate with you. It's the one which is talking inside you. But
Always.
you never doubt that, because that's very intimate. That's like who you are. How can I doubt that? But that is what can keep you in the illusion.
The mind is the Maya, isn't it? The mind
Mind
itself
is
is
the
the Maya.
Maya. Mind is the Maya. Because in every, and even I previously mentioned this, in every thought, like deeper to that thought, like every thought is just hiding that truth from us. You know.
The problem with the thought is that I think we mentioned that in the previous discussion. It's it's faster than the speed of the light. So let's
Very
not
fast.
go
Very
in
fast.
there, yeah, because it
That's
appears
why
and then
delusion is so perfect and creation is so
absolutely
perfect. There's no loophole. And that's why
absolutely.
there are people, there are not many people who have gone beyond this matrix, because it's so perfectly created. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into the second area. That is
Yeah.
particularly the we were saying that what
I
the
have
enlightenment.
more to add to this previous topic, Dr.
Yeah, go
Vipula.
ahead.
Can I
Yeah,
go ahead? Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
It's
Go
like,
ahead.
and another one is like a huge one is that these people don't have emotions. They are some sort of a robot.
Yeah.
I think you've already mentioned that, but I want to, because some people come to me and ask, do you have emotions and all this? Of course I have emotions, you know, like when my dad passed away in 2020, 3 years back. I mean, that was sad to me. And I even cried, you know, so it's not that I would like, and it's not that I don't have feelings or emotions. And a person who has realized they have very rich emotions, they could laugh at the same time, they could cry, because they are very natural. They have become the nature, you know. People who are repressed are the ones who cannot cry, cannot laugh, you know. So that's not someone like, it's just they have all the rich emotion. They could get angry. They could. I've seen like Peter Alston. He's getting. I mean, they realize he's getting angry in one of his videos. You know, so it's very natural getting angry. Those are just emotions. You know, the only difference is they are just, that emotion could come up and then it just withers away very quickly at the same time. You know, but what I want to say is they are not robots. Don't look at, like, realize people and think that, oh no, like they have emotion, they can't, because you get, again, it just completely like side, like you go off track because you can't recognize a realized person. So don't get involved with this, but they can't be having emotions and all that. And also these people are not some superhumans. They can fly, they can walk on the water, not like that, like they can make wine and things like that. So it's just they are like normal human beings living a normal human life, So we need to see that it's not that they have some superhuman qualities, they're living a normal life. And another misperception that they have about is they don't use money, or they don't touch money, or if they are touching money, that's some sort of a corrupted
It's a
by
crime.
money, or like
It's a
that.
crime.
Exactly. I mean, why? Why? Because I've seen that there were some people like I've seen Buddhist monks who doesn't touch money. Why you not need like then the child who is with the monk has to touch the money and give it to the person. I feel like that's more burden. That like why are you not touching? What's wrong with money? It's something very neutral. It's there's nothing wrong with money. Why? Like if someone is involved with money or like taking money, like people are paying me for money for the services that I do. There's nothing wrong with money. Like if money is something very neutral, but people see money as something so evil. If someone who is spiritual is involved with money, then that person is completely out. That you're the one who is missing out from something that you could get out of that person. Be open, and this person could be on anything. And also they could be. Imagine the realized person would have the perfect health, but then how come the Ramana Maharshi, he got a cancer? Because they have this perfect idealistic pictures about these realized people, but then you can see the Ramana Maharshi is the awakened being, but he also got cancer. Like he also carries a body just like a normal person. Yeah.
This kind of the having the belief that the enlightenment is something like this. You are now on the other side. You were struggling, you are meditating, you are practicing, and now you are on the other side. And then you are through. You are cool, you are calm, you are quiet, you don't get agitated, and you are not affected by anything, no feelings, no sensation. So what you are suggesting is the human condition prevails. And after all, if I leave my house and if I go to the town to buy a few things, I'll find my way home. I mean, that's my conditioning. I mean, if I'm an enlightened person, I won't end up in a jungle. No? So, I mean, I have
Then
given up
that's
my
something else.
yeah.
That he got some mental disorder, something like.
I know. So that this conditioning will prevail. However, having said that, probably I disagree with you on one point. Now, this is my perspective and I could be wrong. Now, this seeing through that everything is one and it just everything and nothing. Now, that seeing through can't be described through language. Now, if I say, Dilmi, I am you and you are me, and there is no separation between us, and there's no space, and there is no time. Now, in the light of that, I'm actually sharing something rather than speaking on behalf of another person. But this understanding that, say, for example, if I have an ill feeling towards another person, and this occurrence that person is also me. It's my ill feeling, and that understanding can extinguish. It has an extinguish kind of effect. It's like the fire. It's like, but I can't explain that. It's a kind of a. It has to be experienced to know what it is, because I will react. I mean, if I am attacked by a dog, I will either run or I will take something and hammer. That's a defense that my body is giving me.
That's a condition.
But this, that's a condition. But this understanding can have some transformation, although you can't go after it. Okay, now I'll follow this, and then I'm going to be extending metta to everyone. It won't work. I'll tell you, it won't work. It's only the seeing through. It's if you see it, then there could be some transformation within. What do you say? I could be wrong.
Yeah, that's right. Because honestly, well, in a way that I could say this in this way as well, Dr. Vipula, because with the metta meditation and like doing this metta meditation, there could be some effect. You know, you would feel so I can't really discard it all the way, you know. So can you explain the question again?
No, no, Mama.
Yeah.
No, what I meant was,
Yeah.
You see, I'm not suggesting that you do metta meditation and you will end up with a person who will extend metta all the time. That's not what I'm suggesting.
Yeah.
But the real taste of metta
would
either
only
way,
be gained by the experience. Is that what you're trying to?
It can only be seen and experienced, maybe momentarily, maybe in a shorter spell, provided you have that understanding. This is also me. That tree is also me. The cloud is also me. You know, I'm just everything. I can't just pull my body out and say, this is me. You get my point?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So that understanding. And I've seen this quality in some people, some awakened people. There is something in them. Well, they react. They use some harsh words. However, there is this overall understanding. I can't explain that beyond this point, but I feel that this knowing, I quite agree with you. The emotions, it will continue in a human being. However, this seeing through, I'm part of the nature. I'm flowing with the nature, and I'm just like a tree or something. Will have some kind of a different way of approaching something. Yeah, exactly. So go ahead. I'm just intervene, to what you were saying.
Yeah, there could be an aura to it, and also, like, honestly speaking, there was, like, when I was a spirituality seeker at one point in my life, and some people were saying, "No, I want to love the whole world, and this whole thing is me," and I got really, like, I felt so artificial about it, hearing even that when people were saying that, and I got even irritated by hearing that because I didn't feel so honest, authentic about it, Dr. Vipula, until I went through the experience and I had the shift, and I could see the other person as myself until, like, and as I became the whole and merged with everything without any distinction. Until then, I couldn't really feel that genuinely, I always felt that so not, like, I felt that artificial, people trying to, like, trying to love other person and all that, and that's why I said that at the awakening moment I realized what Jesus was talking about, love. And until then I didn't have a real taste of it, and I might have talked about love, but it's not, like, it's like very, very conditional and very corrupted,
Yeah, it could be artificial. Anyone can imitate and say, well, this is what it is. However, I was just saying that any kind of a recognition that you are that, you are also this, you are not isolated here. That can have some kind of an impact. So that was, I was only suggesting. Let's go to the beliefs. The beliefs that are also hurdles, barriers, and they prevent you from even moving an inch. You are just stuck. The first thing that I just want to keep the ball rolling, and the first thing is that what I'm looking for is there. It's not here. I'm looking for is there. So I got to
that's another thing.
Yeah.
Because that's how we are conditioned to, like, in the material world. Okay, here's the he has a house like a target. Okay, I'm getting there. That's how we were being trained to go into the target. But here, the target is here, already here. So that's
Exactly.
another one belief that we are carrying, and it's a limiting belief, like which is we are seeking outside constantly, go to this teacher and that teacher, and then change this teacher to that book and the other book and this book and this whatever you go on seeking outside, but whereas it's all always with you, just like the fish trying to find water. And
It's like what you are looking for is where you are looking from. I think it was Rumi, if I remember. Rumi who said something like that. It's already there.
Exactly. I remember when I went through the awakening, I was like, I was seeking myself the whole time.
Exactly. Or in other words, you can probably say you are already enlightened, but your mind veils all that,
Exactly. Yeah, like you're already in there, but they just mind kept it hidden and made it a way that you are a separate self, which is a single unit, and you got to be surviving and struggling the whole time in order to survive this battle, something like that, which is a complete illusion. Other ways, the truth, it's like 180-degree. Other ways, the truth, because
exactly.
in reality, what happens is you are the whole, what you're seeking also yourself. If you could be seeking some materialistic things in the world, but in reality, even that is you.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is an ingenious way of hiding. Like sometimes this self appears and very, very selfishly appears, and it is also part of that whole thing. It's like a wave from the ocean. It's that is also part of that. So that's why this trap is so strong. You can't get out of it. So you're trying to separate the ocean from the wave, and you are looking for the ocean, whereas the wave is also part of the ocean.
Yeah. And that's the trap. Like, it's like perfect, it's just perfect.
Or don't you think it's much better not to use the words enlightenment or awakening or freedom, or you don't use any of those, and enter a discussion with a view to looking at life and existence from a different perspective. I mean, that will do more help, because that will take out this expectation. Okay, after this discussion, I'm okay. I think that was a joke, because I think this was Kenneth Madden who said, they were talking about oneness. Everything is one, everything one. And so they were discussing about this oneness. And a friend said, be careful about this oneness. When you get into that, it's very difficult to come out of that. Something like that. So, so Kenneth said, what do you mean getting into it and coming out of it? So, there's no such thing. But then concepts are coming out of this discussion. But at the same time, you can destroy this concept during the conversation. Because the moment you say oneness, okay, you're creating something. Okay, this is oneness, and I'm in that. Just concepts only.
This concept only, that like knowing that just doesn't give anything for you, until you realize it for yourself.
Yeah. So what was the biggest thing that in your own experience, in the belief that you had initially, which virtually prevented you from breaking away from this kind of a shed?
I think that's a good point, because the biggest barrier is like, this is impossible. I also had the same belief, like, oh my God, this is impossible. This cannot be done in this birth, maybe in so many births after. after enormous effort, not even humanly possible, and looking back at the history and the stories, it just message everywhere, wherever I look at, impossible, 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 and impossible. And it was not easy to go beyond it, because whoever you talk to are like talking about impossible. But I remember talking to people when I first met my one of the spiritual teachers that I recognize him as someone who's realized. And when I met him, I was looking at him and thought, my God, this man is so ordinary. They were so helpful for me, at least, to see that, oh, this is a normal human being, it's not something which is, because I trust my heart, like I could see that the recognized person. And so that's the biggest barrier, like to see that, oh, this is something not possible in this life. You got to like do many jump in hopes and do unbelievable things in order for you to get into even the criteria. Like, my God, I also had the same belief. I remember I was having a belief technique, and I was doing that particular belief. To dismantle that belief, I was doing some practices. Would you imagine that? Because I was working with a coach, and I got this limiting belief tool from him, and then I was working on this tool. Oh, this is impossible, and I am just a normal human being. How dare I think I can,
I had the same thing through a meditation spree. It was a very hectic, very stringent kind of a meditation process, and I even today I'm neither encouraging nor discouraging anyone, but from my point of view, I would probably say, well, these are my experiences, and you just take it or leave it. So this again based on beliefs, it's powered by a strong belief that you move from one cage to another. So basically, what I felt was that even in when you look around, you see people are making their own presence comfortable. They don't consider, you have the key just outside, but you are decorating your inside the prison, and then you are making it, and you are
put
cleaning.
Some gold into the thing, not metal, but gold.
Exactly, and then making the prison comfortable, but without realizing you are still caught up inside, and you haven't got out of the sea. It's like this, I have a simile. This is my own simile. If you are a frog in the well, which we often use, but inside the well you have a hell of a lot of things to study. If you want to do research inside the well, I can tell you, whether it's scientific or empirical research or qualitative or quantitative, you have a million things to do inside the well, but you are still inside the well. You see, you will never see the sight of the real world.
Then the frog has to come out of the well.
Absolutely, but then frog doesn't know. You see, and frog thinks whatever it's finding, it's all there.
But there's so many things to do in the well inside. Can even until his depth of his life.
Absolutely. And so this prerequisite probably, okay, before that I must say that the way I see it, the biggest barrier, as you rightly said, is it is a mission impossible. Other one is it is me who is seeking. It is me, myself, who wants enlightenment. I mean, you are bored out there alone, because I mean, you can have the curiosity, you have that instinct, that's fine, but I am looking for this is the biggest hurdle, because I mean, I'll achieve this and I'll show the rest. I'm this.
But Dr. Vipula, in a way that when you are beginning, your truth is you have a self. You start from there. So I mean, someone could start from there. I mean, that's like, when you're going, like, because if you say like in the beginning as a seeker, you still have the self. That is your truth, even though like on the other hand, you would experience it, but in the beginning, that's where you are. You know what I mean?
Agree and disagree. Now, I agree to that extent because we use language. So every time we use language, we have to say I.
Yeah.
And I got into
Yeah.
this and
Yeah.
I tried this. So to
Yeah.
that extent,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
But what I disagree is that you have this belief, this me, I have to see that there is no I. Now
Yeah.
that's a huge oxymoron. You know, it's a paradox. You see, I have to see that I am not there. So you have established the I, but eventually seeing this through may not be caused by something that you have done also, right? We can't say because I was doing these things. The best you can probably say is turn the attention to yourself. You know, that is the last place that you have that you will look for yourself, right? So that's
Mm.
yeah. So at that point, it's perfectly okay to say, you know, when you look for the I, you realize that there's no I. So you can use the language to that extent. I'm just, you know, I'm not contradicting, but just to keep the discussion going. So that's how it is. You know, this strong sense of I is probably again the preventive factor, provided there is no sincerity. I mean, there has to be a sincerity in you, some kind of a, you know, the humility. So say, no, I don't know this. Can you tell me this? Is there another way of looking at it? Sometimes people don't have that. It's always when you enter a discussion, they always say, you know, I know this. I have heard this. You see?
Yeah. Another, yes, that's a big one, which you need to empty your cup first. Because if you already know who you are, why the existence needs to give you an experience, or like it's not even an experience, but why would you, what there to look for? Because you already think, you know who you are. I'm Dilmi, I'm Sri Lankan, I'm a Buddhist, or you know, you already aware about these identities. Why you need to, what the universe need to give you any experience of who you are? You know, it's like you need to first empty your cup and throw out all that you know about everything. You know, whatever you have heard about anything in life is something that who has told you about, or you have read somewhere. It's not your own experience. You got to come into that not knowing. I remember when I was first doing this work, I had to go to a very, very deep and not knowing. I had to throw out everything that I knew I know, because I realized there was illusion. I thought I know these because it's not my first-hand experience. Everything that I know was like I borrowed from someone else. You know, anything that I read from, it's on my experience, that's someone else's experience. You know, so whatever the
No, in this before I conclude, I would like to pass this message on to our audience. Now, there are two things you mentioned. One is empty your cup already before you. So it will always be fresh. Sometimes you may have heard these words before, but just empty the cup. The other one is that you yourself said that, you know, that it was always second-hand knowledge that you have had, which is coming from the horse's mouth, so to say. So, I mean, we are doing this recording with an intention of communicating something to our audience. I would urge our audience to, you know, always look at something fresh and just do
even
away
they
with
can question this itself. You know, this conversation itself.
absolutely,
They
yeah.
can also just, they don't need to buy into it. Just that they can also like see, you know, whether they can take it or whether it's not something which resonates with them. You don't need to just buy into it. That's not our intention, that you just Because that's again another belief. That's again something again borrowed. Okay, this is oneness. Like that's
Absolutely.
again a belief, Yeah.
And I mean, I may have used the wrong terminology about oneness. When you say oneness, it has a connotation, it doesn't bring out the real, like if you take a dream, it's perfect oneness, because you can't find, when you talk about a dream, it's just one dream, that's it. But if you go to describe, then you are getting into, slippery slope, so you can't describe all that. Okay, anything else, Dilmi, you want to mention about the barriers to awakening? Then we can wind up.
Yeah, and also one more thing, because we are talking in Sri Lankan terms, and like you got to become a nun or a monk in order to realize this truth is another huge thing, because it's not about that, it's about you could be anyone, and if you have the right focus, like for me, I had the laser focus on this, that's also huge. So you don't need to become anyone in order to realize this. You could do it in your own home. I did it inside my home. That was my cave. Let's take it, because we are in a modern world. We no longer have the luxury to go in a mountain cave or something like that. Just come into this modern world, like it's modern. And at the
Exactly.
same time, and also do like people, just another belief is that they postpone this to the end, especially in countries like in our countries. This is for people who are retired and like just all done with everything, and their grandchildren also now got married to everything, and then now I can start looking because everything is settled. My God, you cannot put off this, because you don't know about your life. Your life is so fragile. You could be dead next moment. I could be dead next moment,
Exactly.
and I'm glad, so it's just, that's how it is. So how can we postpone something, something so valuable like this? So like, don't wait until I would do this once blank. I would do this once my degree is over. I would do this once I financially free. All these are just more traps, like just do something, just do a 30 minutes meditation after your work, incorporate
Exactly.
this into your life. This doesn't have to be some sort of a big indoor life. Because I worked in a corporate job. I was doing my degree and CIMA and all the other things. And now I'm doing my counseling. Like, so I was living my normal, ordinary life, so so that's very important. So don't postpone it to not great. Once this is done, I
I
would
would,
do it.
no, I would qualify that statement. I mean, if anyone wants to be a monk or a nun, by all means, go ahead, but not with the idea that
I'm saying that's optional.
unless you become, you can never, that is questionable.
Yeah, that's like, exactly. That's like optional if you want, but at the same time, but talk to people at the same time. If they go to a place like that, it would be more, because you don't need to earn money, and that, like, it would be very conducive environment for seeking the truth. So
Probably
I
easier
need to
because
add that as well. Yeah. So I
probably it
can't
is
really
easier
deny
because
that. Yeah. Because you don't need to take care of finance or money or survival needs anymore. So there's a benefit to that. But what I'm saying is, it doesn't need to be mandatory.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because that is no correlation between that to seeing.
And this.
You can't say because you
No.
did this, it happens.
Yeah.
I love this quote. It's coming from Zen. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. So when you
And
say
there's another
student,
part to it. Shall
okay,
I complete it?
go ahead.
When the student is really ready, teacher disappear.
All right, I guess so. I guess so. Okay, that's a nice way of ending our conversation. So, Dilmi, thank you very much again, and this is a series of discussions, and we are going to continue to discuss. And I would strongly urge our audience to, because Dilmi's contact number will be there. on the YouTube channel. Just call and make an appointment. Just have a word, and keep an open mind, because here we are discussing life, existence, awakening, all these subjects, and it might give you different meaning to different, people, but that's fine. But our intention is to, shed light on areas that are hitherto not discussed very openly in countries like Sri Lanka, without using heavy jargons like Pali and Sanskrit and all that. And this type of discussions are now quite common in Europe, America, and Australia. It's there are a lot of people, they log in and they jump in, and some people are just watching, some people are asking questions. I also take part in some of those discussions, very interesting, and it certainly helps. So with that, thank you very much, Dilmi, once again, and we'll see you next week.
I would wind up the session with the one statement, Dr. Vipula, like this realizing the truth is everyone's birthright. It's not for some few special ones, and my intention is to get those few special ones from this, that we have kept them in a pedestal, and then I want to get them into the human and show that they are also human beings. And what I believe is this is everyone's birthright. So yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I think, yeah, it places everyone on one platform. Thank you very much indeed. Thanks, Dilmi. We'll see you next week. Okay.